Fish in backyard ponds can die for a variety of reasons. The occasional single death is often normal, old age, minor stress, or predation. But sudden or mass die-offs are usually tied to environmental issues. In this video, I'll talk about the most common causes and what we can do about them. But if you don't already know me, my name is Kev, and my aim is to help people build and maintain a pond without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, you might like to subscribe and visit my website, ozponds.com. The number one culprit is low dissolved oxygen. This tops the list for most backyard pond fish kills. During hot weather, the water simply can't hold as much oxygen. As the water heats up, oxygen molecules escape more easily into the air instead of staying dissolved. And at the same time, fish, plants, algae and bacteria all use more oxygen. So supply drops while demand rises. Plus the plants aren't adding extra oxygen at night. During the day they're photosynthesizing, and that adds oxygen into the water. If you notice your fish gasping at the surface or hanging about near splashing water, this is the clearest indicator you can get that the oxygen levels are low and it needs to be addressed to prevent fish deaths. Too many fish will increase the oxygen demands, so will overfeeding, algae bloom and bust cycles, mass runoff events, excessive organic material. This is all pretty much tied to the bacteria needing the oxygen to process and break down those inputs. So the best way to increase oxygen is to agitate the water, plenty of water movement. Pumps, aerators, fountains, venturis all help to mix the water and the air, and that improves oxygen levels within the water. It's almost impossible to over-oxygenate the pond. If the water is full of oxygen, it'll simply leave the water and return to the atmosphere. If you do have lots of fish in the pond and your pumps and aerators shut off for an extended period of time, say during a power out, that'll crash your oxygen levels. So if you know you're pushing the limits, you want to have some kind of backup system. If you don't have a backup system, you could run a hose into the pond to agitate the water, or agitate it manually. You've just got to get that water and air mixing somehow. Killing algae can also crash your oxygen levels. That's if you kill all the algae at once. Algae produces oxygen like plants, but more importantly, if you kill it and allow it to decompose in the pond, you've lost the oxygen it produces, and you've created more oxygen demand on the bacteria trying to break it down. So that's a double whammy. Next we've got poor water quality and toxin buildup. Ammonia, nitrite and nitrate spikes from inadequate filtration, overfeeding or overcrowding can poison your fish. If you don't have enough filtration or plants to absorb these spikes, it can be fatal. The breakdown of waste, the fish breeding, plants decomposing, it all produces ammonia. There are groups of bacteria that process these nitrogen compounds, and that process is called the nitrogen cycle. All pond filters are designed in a way to maximize the amount of these bacteria. Plants can also absorb these nitrogen compounds to fuel their growth. When they consume it, that reduces the amount of work the bacteria need to do, and that helps keep the water safe for the fish. So ammonia and nitrite can cause acute stress and fast losses, whereas nitrate weakens fish more slowly. All commonly sold aquarium or pond test kits will let you test for ammonia, nitrite and nitrate. But this is why proper filtration is so important. Every pond is different, and the requirements for a few guppies is much different to the requirements for big koi. I like natural looking ponds with good filtration, lots of plants and a low amount of fish. This keeps it low maintenance and easy. If you'd like to build something like this, I have a system I follow and it's available at ozponds.com if you're interested. Another one is sudden changes in water chemistry. Sudden pH or hardness changes force fish to work harder to balance salts and fluids across their gills. That stress weakens immunity, reduces oxygen uptake, and makes fish more vulnerable to disease, even if the values aren't toxic on paper. Some fish tolerate water quality, low oxygen, and temperature swings far better than others. For example, goldfish are generally hardier than koi. Hardy fish cope with stress better, but even they have their limits if conditions stack up against them. But I tend to keep hardy fish, so I have less to worry about. I also find having rocks, plants, substrate, all kinds of natural elements helps buffer the water and keep the parameters more stable. Then there's always the potential for poisons to enter the pond. Fertilizers or nearby chemicals entering the pond can be toxic, so beware what you're doing in close proximity. And if you can, slope runoff away so this water doesn't enter the pond. Then there's diseases and parasites, and there are many. Bacterial infections, fungal issues, flukes or parasites like ick, anchorworm or skin flukes often flare up when fish are stressed by poor water, temperature changes or overcrowding. Now, none of these are things that I've had any personal experience with. Again, I'm keeping hardy fish in low numbers and in well-filtered ponds. If I see a problem like too much organic material, low oxygen levels, boom or bust algae cycles, I take steps to address it before the water quality deteriorates too much and causes me an issue. Salt can help with certain fish health issues, but it doesn't fix poor water quality, it won't cure advanced infections, and it can harm plants and beneficial biology if you overuse it. Predation is another one that causes fish loss. Herons, cats, even frogs and snakes can take fish, or just the stress of constantly being hunted can cause problems. I really hate netting my ponds, so I don't do it, but it is the best way to keep predators out. I used to have a lot of open water in this pond, but now I've allowed the eelgrass to take over the bottom. This has provided a lot more cover for the fish and makes it harder for the herons and the cormorants that visit the ponds to get them. In my large pond where I want lots of open water and not crowded with plants, I decided that it's only suitable for small native fish that naturally hide in the rock crevices like the southern pygmy perch. They breed well, so their population has stayed stable. I did love having top-dwelling fish like rainbows in here, but the birds just take them too easy, so I have another pond where it's very heavily planted and I can keep the rainbows and the blue eyes in there. My aim is to create ecosystems that will be self-sustaining for certain fish populations, while still allowing the local birds to get the odd feed, but not an all-you-can-eat buffet. It's a trial and error system, everyone's environments and local predators are different. And lastly, we have natural mortality. Sometimes fish just die for natural reasons. Some fish are very long-lived, goldfish can do 10 to 20 years, koi over 40, and small fish it's more in the 2 to 8 year range. Spawning events can also take their toll, it gets pretty hectic. Then you've got extreme weather events, or just a random defect. Again, a single death isn't usually a cause for alarm, but multiple die-offs point to a pond-wide problem. Fish will also compete with each other for resources, they'll eat their own kind, they do this in nature, and they'll do it in your pond. If you maintain good circulation, great filtration, don't overstock or overfeed the fish, you remove the buildup of too much organic material, you keep fish species adapted to your climate, I think those are the best things you can do to help your fish have a happy and healthy life. If I missed anything, or you'd like to share a personal story, feel free to add it to the comments. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. See ya.